Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. India sets a vaccination record, an all-time high for us. We can do it. India now crossing nearly 80 lakh vaccine doses in just a day. Madhya Pradesh is the highest at 14 lakh plus vaccine doses. This is the first day of free vaccines for all. The government's revised guidelines begin from today. Sharad Pawar's Mission 2024 second meeting with election strategist PK in Delhi today. Tomorrow he'll meet with politicians and eminent citizens. Attending his meeting tomorrow will be the TMC, AAP, the National Conference, but also the ex-Chief Election Commissioner Javed Akhtar and others to attend. The Congress's Kapil Sibal invited too but refuses to attend. Well, the Pawar play comes amid Maharashtra Alliance's mixed signals. Congress's Prithviraj Chavan says the next Chief Minister will be a Congress Chief Minister. Meanwhile, on Saturday, Chief Minister Thackeray says that the Congress wants to contest alone, people will beat you. He doesn't mention the Congress, but the indication is clear. This, as the Shiv Sena said today, all is well in the alliance. Well, the Congress's Navjot Singh Sidhu breaks his silence. The NDTV exclusive attacks Chief Minister Amrinder Singh openly. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister is in Delhi as Rahul Gandhi is also meeting with Punjab leaders. Meanwhile, the Delhi Chief Minister begins his Punjab outreach for elections next year. Nobel laureate Esther Duflo is in the Tamil Nadu Chief's Economic Advisory Team along with other experts like ex-RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan and Chief Economic Advisor, also ex-Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian also in the panel. And International Yoga Day celebrated across India. As the Prime Minister says, yoga gave us inner strength during the corona pandemic. Ministers, film stars and yes, camels too during Yoga Day. Our lead story tonight, well, India has set a vaccination record, an all-time high for India as we are now touching nearly 80 lakh vaccine doses. That's at 8 o'clock this evening. Madhya Pradesh had the highest vaccine doses at 14 lakhs plus. Remember today, June the 21st, the first day of the government saying free vaccines for all except those in private hospitals. And that really is a remarkable milestone today. Remember, India has to reach about 97 lakh people to reach our ambitious plan of December of vaccinating all eligible adults. But with crossing 80 lakhs, nearly touching 80 lakhs, we've reached a major milestone. Let's just look at what this actually means. So today's vaccinations is a 137% jump from our usual average, which is about 33.7 lakh doses. It surpasses the 2nd April record of 42 lakhs. In fact, what's required to vaccinate all adult Indians is 97.51 lakhs. So we're touching today 80 lakhs. So that's pretty good and we need to keep up this pace. Let's just look also at globally because now currently India is at the 3rd highest vaccinations globally. Overall, China is at 1.03 billion. Now, of course, China's figures can't really be verified independently. These are the figures they claim. The United States number 2nd, followed by India, then Brazil, UK, Germany way behind. But of course, what's important is the percentage of our population, and there India still has a long way to go. We're currently just under 4% of our adult population vaccinated. But let's look at the major focus and the thrust of today's huge vaccination drive across India, a record nearly 80 lakh Indians vaccinated with the first dose today.
India crossed its highest daily vaccinations today with nearly 80 lakh doses earlier this evening on the first day of a fresh push, making jabs free for all. Karnataka was the front runner with over 9.8 lakh vaccinations today by 7 p.m, while it usually vaccinates 1.5 lakh people daily. Karnataka had set a target of vaccinating up to 7 lakh people today.
Opening up almost inevitably leads to a rising number of COVID-19 cases. And as Karnataka lifts lockdown restrictions, the state has been organizing free vaccination camps in many parts of Karnataka. And here in Bengaluru, the BBMP is also organizing free camps in work spots like this one. The hope that mass vaccination can help to lessen the impact of the third wave.
In Maharashtra, 3.6 lakh vaccinations were done by 7 p.m. in comparison to the usual daily vaccinations of around 2.7 lakh.
I wanted to get vaccinated as soon as possible. I have a kid, So I didn't want to, take any chances further with all these things that's coming up.
In Uttar Pradesh, till 7 p.m., the state had vaccinated 6.3 lakh people, much higher than its usual daily vaccinations of 3.5 lakh.
On the streets of Lucknow, especially near Chief Minister Adityanath's residence, there are multiple billboards talking about the big push of the Uttar Pradesh government for vaccinations.
But UP's other big challenge, vaccine hesitancy, especially in the state's vast rural areas.
अगर इससे हल्का बुखार आ सकता है तो कोई दिक्कत होगी तो बुखार की दवा ले लीजिएगा केवल दाब लो उसे
अरे ये देखिए मुख्यमंत्री भी लगवा रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री भी लगवा रहे हैं
क्या आपको तकलीफ हो रहा है क्या परेशानी है कि आप लोग टीका नहीं लगवा रहे वो लोग कोई भी जवाब नहीं दे रहे हैं बस बोल रहे हैं कि हमें नहीं लगवाना हम पूछ रहे हैं क्यों नहीं लगवा रहे रीजन क्या है रीजन भी वो लोग नहीं बता रहे हैं और कुछ लोग तो इतना वो करने लगे पैर तक पकड़ने लग रहे हैं कि मैडम हमें नहीं लगवाना है आप चली जाइए
Assam, which has one of the lowest vaccination rate in the country, inoculated 3 lakh people by 7 p.m. instead of average 1 lakh vaccinations per day.
Assam has launched a mega vaccination drive. The aim is to inoculate at least 30 lakh people in coming 10 days and therefore 2,000 vaccine centers like this one has been opened up. The public response has also been good on day one and the government says if required in urban areas, vaccine centers would remain open for 12 hours a day.
ऑनलाइन के लिए प्रॉब्लम हो रहा था हम लोग को मिल नहीं रहा है मौका नहीं मिल रहा है तो अभी क्या है जो अभी ऐसे खुलेआम दे दिया डायरेक्ट दिया सरकार तो उसका वजह से हम लोग को भी ज़्यादा प्रॉफिट है जो हम लोग आके डायरेक्ट वैक्सीन ले रहे हैं.
The Bengal government has decided not to do universal free vaccination from today. They are going a little slow because vaccine supplies are low.
However, Delhi had 75,000 vaccinations by 7 p.m. Its usual daily vaccinations are around 85,000. The state also complained of shortage of stock.
दिल्ली सरकार को भी इन्होंने कहा दिल्ली सरकार के अफसरों को कहा कि दिल्ली की सरकार की तरफ से भी ये विज्ञापन जाना चाहिए धन्यवाद मोदी जी मुफ्त वैक्सीन. मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि लोगों को विज्ञापन की नहीं वैक्सीन की जरूरत है. 2,94,00,000 वैक्सीन जैसा मैंने कहा दिल्ली के लिए चाहिए. भारतीय जनता पार्टी को शर्म आनी चाहिए कि वैक्सीन तो दे रहे हैं 15 लाख और ऊपर से अफसरों पर दबाव डाल रहे हैं कि विज्ञापन दीजिए.
The government had earlier declared its ambitious target of covering the whole adult population of 108 crore by the end of this year. But for India to achieve that goal, it will have to maintain the consistency of its vaccination drive. Bureau report for NDTV.
And the Prime Minister has just tweeted saying today's record-breaking vaccination numbers are gladdening. The vaccine remains our strongest weapon to fight COVID and congratulations to those who got vaccinated and kudos to all the frontline warriors working hard to ensure so many citizens get the vaccine. And this, of course, coming as we are at the lowest daily cases in nearly 3 months. Our cases in the last 24 hours were just over 53,000. But remember, of course, this is the Sunday effect. So cases are normally lower on Sundays. The deaths in the last 24 hours are at 1422. Again, that's a dip there, but still high at over 1,000 a day. Tests are also coming down. Perhaps that's because also symptoms are coming down, so people aren't getting tested so much. The daily positivity rate is up very slightly, but it's been less than 5% for 2 weeks, and that's good news. So, with Corona going down, politics is increasing. In fact, there's going to be a face-to-face political meeting tomorrow, but Vasu, some political parties are already preparing for Mission 2024, namely Sharad Pawar.
That's right, Sonia. If you really look at now who is finally turning up at the guest list at Mr. Pawar's meeting in New Delhi tomorrow, it's telling you two things. One, it's telling you that non-BJP parties like the NCP and so on are not waiting for the Congress to get their act together for Mission 2024. They're going ahead to start some preliminary discussions on what the shape of a opposition to the BJP could be. But again, the guest list gives you an indication, Sonia, of the limitations of that exercise. Because if you really look at who's going to be there, apart from Mr. Pawar, you have leaders like Shiv Sena, who's now most recently with the TMC, Pawan Verma, who quit the JDU, Sanjay Singh of the Aam Aadmi Party, D. Raja and so on. But after that, Sonia, you have a number of very interesting eminent citizens, Javed Akhtar, Majid Memon, Ashutosh, ex of the AAP and so on, all again worthy individuals, but really the entire gathering appears to be more of a prestigious TV panel that someone like Karan Thapar, who's there, could moderate quite competently, and I hope Karan doesn't mind me saying this because he knows how much I admire him. But it really raises a question of whether this is the kind of hardcore political gathering that can really give an outline to a anti-BJP front. And that's the big question really that's emerging, that while at least this might be perhaps a very preliminary gathering, it may not quite have the contours that Mr. Pawar would have expected. Remember, Sonia, that at first it appeared that this was only going to be without the Congress. Then we heard that the Congress was invited, at least some members of the disgruntled G23. They are doing a no-show. Parties like the DMK are unlikely to be there. So this may not quite be the sort of gathering that would lend credence to a strong anti-BJP front. But Sonia, that said, let me say very quickly at the end, this is not the first of it. Because just before that, we know that Sharad Pawar was sitting with Prashant Kishore, the second such meeting in 2 weeks. And it's perhaps in more of these smaller behind-the-scenes gatherings with the likes of Prashant Kishore and others that we might see a more credible or a more stronger front or coalition coming together. But the shapes of it still remain quite amorphous and unclear.
In fact, Vasu, I mean, besides that, this is also coming amidst what's happening in the Maharashtra alliance, because there, of course, you're seeing now again some churning. I just want to play these statements and then we just come across to you for a quick analysis of that. And this, we've had next Chief Minister of the Congress, Prithviraj Chavan, today saying the next Chief Minister in Maharashtra will be a Congress Chief Minister. Now, that's not music to the ears of the current Chief Minister and alliance partners.
जो हमारी नेता सोनिया जी ने कहा है उसके आधार पर कांग्रेस पूरी ताकत के साथ राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री उद्धव ठाकरे जी के साथ में है। 5 साल हम पूरी सपोर्ट के साथ हम उद्धव ठाकरे सरकार जी के साथ में है। हम उनको पूरी शुभकामना देते हैं। कल अलायन्स डिक्लेअर करने से आज ही डिक्लेअर करे तो अच्छा।
आणि त्यांची अस्वस्थता आपण लक्षात न घेता केवळ सोबळाचा नारा दिला, एका हाती सत्ता आणू, लोक जोड्याने आणतील। लोक म्हणतील की तू सत्ता आणि सोबळ ठेव, तुझ्याकडे पहिलं मला भाकरी कशी देणार ते सांग।
हम तीनों एक दूसरे के साथ बहुत मजबूती से खड़े हैं और खड़े रहेंगे। ये सरकार चलाने की कमिटमेंट 5 साल की है। चाहे कि बाहर के लोग जो है जो सरकार बनाना चाहते हैं, जिनकी सत्ता चली जाने से बहुत ही उनको पेट में दर्द है, वो लोग चाहे कितनी भी कोशिश करें, लेकिन ये सरकार 5 साल चलेगी।
Vasu, so how serious is what's going on? You've heard what Uddhav Thackeray said on Saturday, what Sanjay Raut said today. Is this really a serious Sena BJP outreach, or is that just all currently hypothetical?
Well, Sonia, I'd say that I wouldn't call it as serious at the moment, but I certainly think that there is this low simmering boil that has been going on in Maharashtra now for the better part of the life of this government, and it doesn't seem to have gotten any better. In fact, if you look at the recent set of statements, once again it appears that the Congress is turning out to be somewhat of the spoiler in the whole equation. You've seen that statement there by Nana Patole, Congress chief, saying we'll go solo. Prithviraj Chavan saying that it will be a Congress led MVA next time around. Again, this is seen partly as jockeying for position, for trying to galvanize the cadre and for trying to, in a sense, do muscle flexing. And it's not being taken that seriously in political circles in Maharashtra. But there's no doubt that this question you raised about the BJP and the Sena drifting together, there does appear to be some indication that that's not just speculation, not just Uddhav Thackeray meeting the Prime Minister, but Uddhav Thackeray not attacking the Prime Minister or the BJP in the Sena's foundation speech this weekend. The Sena MLA writing a letter to Uddhav Thackeray saying, look, maybe it's better we ally with the BJP, it will stop the enforcement directorate harassment. All these straws in the wind do point towards the fact that the kettle is still on the low boil, and everyone telling us, Sonia, that it will really come to a head next year, in the early part of next year, when you have the BMC, prestigious BMC elections in Maharashtra. That's when positions might start to solidify.
No, and I think that's the reality in Indian politics today, Vasu, that no one is off limits or nobody is ruled out as a possible alliance partner. Indeed. But let's just look at what's happening now in the Congress, especially in Punjab. Well, the Congress's Navjot Singh Sidhu broke his silence speaking to NDTV's Mohammad Ghazali, where he's attacked the Chief Minister openly. Now, how will the Congress High Command resolve this? Because Navjot Singh Sidhu really taking on the Chief Minister at a time the Chief Minister Amrinder Singh is currently in Delhi. Also, Rahul Gandhi meeting with Punjab leaders and the dissidents in the Punjab Congress is now growing.
Allegation being put on you. Why didn't you raise your voice?
What allegation?
Why did you raise your voice?
I am raising voice. The president said, review those. Every MLA says,
Review those. 78 MLAs say, review them. Am I the president or am I the PPCC president?
You are one of the claimants.
Hang on, I don't claim anything. Nonsense. Talk sense. Tell him. Prove one thing. One position that I've asked for in the last 17 years, I've given up 10. Talk of giving jobs to the MLA sons, the elitist class. Who is he to stop Navjot Singh Sidhu and closing doors on Navjot Singh Sidhu? So he will close doors. Who opened the doors for him? I gave up a Rajya Sabha. The entire Prashant Kishore came 60 times. Did I want to come? All right. What happened to him? He lost his deposit. He lost 3 elections. He made his own party. He threatened the High Command. And after losing his deposit, he goes to Delhi. Is he Taksali? He goes to Delhi and Madam Sonia makes him president in 6 months.
Are you ready to work with Amrinder Singh?
मैं क्या रहा हूँ? When I'm saying I'm walking behind him?
Only if the issues are resolved.
Oh, that's it. What am I talking? Am I asking for something for myself?
He is very important. I feel that we should all understand the culture and the way of functioning secularism of the Congress Party, and we must accept the leadership of the Congress Party. Now let us wait for that, result, but idea is to now going to the press on and on and on is nothing is happening other than we would be weakening our position during the election times.
Well, as the Congress is imploding, the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has begun his Punjab outreach campaign before elections here next year. He was there, a senior ex-police officer joined the Aam Aadmi Party today, and he also visited the Golden Temple and said today that the party's chief ministerial candidate in Punjab will be from the Sikh community.
आम आदमी पार्टी का सीएम फेस कौन होगा, इसके बारे में हमारे अंदर खूब चर्चाएं चल रही हैं। जो भी होगा समय आने पे आपको बताएंगे, और एक चीज पक्की है, आम आदमी पार्टी का पंजाब का सीएम फेस सिख समाज से होगा।
Well, another big headline, in West Bengal, the Calcutta High Court has rejected the West Bengal government's recall plea, where the court had ordered that the National Human Rights Commission must set up a panel to look at alleged post-poll violence in West Bengal within hours of the Calcutta High Court order. The National Human Rights Commission has formed a 7-member committee to probe alleged post-poll violence in the state. A 5-judge bench of the High Court dismissed the West Bengal government's appeal, saying that the order should be recalled. The order was passed after a bunch of PILs alleging displacement of people from their residences and physical assault and ransacking of businesses. The BJP has said that this is a victory for them and that the case must be probed fairly. But meanwhile, the latest controversy is becoming about the BJP's call for a union territory in North Bengal. The Trinamool Congress filing an FIR against the BJP MP from that district for trying to provoke trouble by calling for a partition of the state.
আলাদা রাজ্য হইলে আমরা ডেভেলপমেন্ট করতে পারি, না হলে ইউটি করলে কেন্দ্র তো আমাদের হাতে থাকবে নাই। আমি রাজ্যকে কেন বললাম,
কোন রকম ডিভাইড এন্ড রুল আমরা করতে দেব না, এবং এগুলো রাজ্য সরকার অনুমতি ছাড়া করা যায় না। বিজেপি যদি মনে করে যে আমি জলপাইগুড়িটা বিক্রি করে দেব, অত সস্তা নয়, এবং বাংলাটাকে টুকরো টুকরো করে দিয়ে কার স্বার্থ সংশ্লিষ্ট করবে।
And Tamil Nadu now has a 5-member Economic Advisory Council to the Chief Minister, which includes a Nobel laureate, economist Esther Duflo, and 2 former Chief Economic Advisors and also former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan and Arvind Subramanian. They will help the Chief Minister M.K. Stalin in looking at the state's economic and social policies. Noted economist Jean Drez is also part of this panel. Well, the Sensex and Nifty both had recoveries today from intraday lows on Monday, mainly because of strong buying interest in index heavyweights Reliance Industries, Hindustan Unilever, State Bank of India, HDFC and Bajaj Finances. The Sensex ended 230 points up, the Nifty up by 63 points.